A suspended chord, also known as a sus chord, is a type of chord in which the third is replaced by either the second or the fourth note of the scale. We're on page number 22. Go grab the book from here, link in the description. When we have a look at the sus2 chords, the third is replaced with the second note of the scale. So for example, in a C sus2 chord, instead of playing the note E, which is the third note of the C major scale, we would instead play the note D, which is the second note of the C major scale. So the notes of a C sus2 chord would be C, D, and G. And that will sound like this. That actually sounds way sweeter than a normal major chord, doesn't it? Well, let's go back to this MIDI clip over here where I've got all the chords of C major laid out here. Now, one thing is really important that you need to understand about sus2 chords is that you can't build a sus2 chord on every single degree of a specific scale. In this case, obviously, it is the major scale, the C major scale. So on what degrees can you actually build a sus2 chord on? Well, you can build a sus2 chord on the first degree. So instead of this C major chord, all I have to do is pull down that E to a D. And look at that, that's straight away, we've got that sus2. That's great. We can also do the same thing on the second chord as well, which is that D minor. If we move that F down to an E and we play D, E, and A, there we have another sus2 chord. That's a D sus2. So now we're actually going to skip the third because we can't build an E sus2 in the scale of C major. And I'm going to explain a little bit about this later on in this lesson. So let's go to that fourth degree. It consists of the F, A, and C notes. Now let's locate that third. There is the A, and let's drop that down to this G, and there you have an F sus2. And that's great. Let's do the same thing now on chord number 5 or the 5th degree. So again, you can see that normal triad chord there. It's a G major. Let's get that B and drop that down. So it plays G, A, and D. And then let's move on to the 6th degree where we get this A minor and we pull down that middle note, that C. Again, we pull it down to this B, and there we have a nice sus2 chord. That's great. And lastly is the 7th degree, and again, we can't build a sus2 chord on this degree. So out of those 7 notes that make up a major scale, we can only build sus2 chords on the 1st degree, 2nd degree, 4th degree, 5th degree, and the 6th degree. Now, how comes we can't build a sus2 chord on the 3rd degree? Well, let's have a look at that first. Well, when we get this E minor chord and we get that G in the middle and drop it down to an F, well, it doesn't sound too good. Listen to this. That sounds pretty high tension, doesn't it? It sounds really uncomfortable, really unstable. And the reason for that instability is because when we drop that G to an F, well, we have created now a tritone interval. Now, what the hell is a tritone interval? Well, a tritone interval consists of a note being 6 semitones away from another note. It's also called the devil in music because it holds a lot of high tension. And the same is actually true when we have a look at the 7th degree as well. When we play that B, D, and F, we already have a tritone interval baked into that diminished chord. Look at the relationship between the B and the F. It's 6 semitones away. So obviously, if we moved that D down to the C, well, it's not going to fix anything, is it? Because the relationship of that tritone interval, it's still baked within that chord. Now, I'm going to explain this a little bit further when we have a look at 7th chords in this course. So if you are a little bit confused with that, don't worry. All you need to know is that, hey, look, you can't build sus2 chords on the 3rd degree and on the 7th degree as well. All right, so let's move on to the sus4 chords. You guys have probably guessed already how to make this one, just like the sus2, but instead of going down, we're going to go up. So we're going to replace that 3 or the 3rd with the 4th. So a C sus4 chord is built off a C, F, and G. Now, you can build sus4 chords on the 1st degree, the 2nd degree, the 3rd degree, the 5th degree, and the 6th degree. Okay, you can't build sus4 chords on the 4th degree and again on the 7th degree. And if you guys haven't noticed, that 7th degree is a proper menace. So let's change those degrees to sus4 chords. I'm going to start all the way at the beginning. We've got this C sus4, so again that E goes up to that F. There you go. And then let's make that D sus4. Let's locate that middle note in the D major, and it's the F. Let's pop that up. Now that is the D sus4. Same thing with the third chord. Let's go in this E minor. And we get that G. We pop that up. And there's our E sus4. Obviously, like I said, the fourth we're going to leave out because it doesn't work. And on the fifth degree, we're playing the G, B, and D. Let's get that B, move that up. And let's go to the sixth degree and let's grab that middle note, the C note, and push that up as well. And there we have our A sus4. So there we have all of the sus triad chords that belong to the key of C major. Well, now that we know what sus2 and sus4 chords are, the next big question is, how do we use them? Well, first things first, sus chords can be applied at any point within a chord progression, but do not overdo it. These chords are most effective when you use them sparingly, such as just changing only maybe one or two chords within the progression. Sometimes you can get away with changing more than two chords in the chord progression, but end of the day, it's all about feeling. So let's go to my 1, 6, 4, 5 chord progression and let's alter a few of these notes. So I think the very first chord, that C major, I'm going to make it into a C sus2. So I'm going to drag that E down to a D. And then I'm going to leave that second chord as is. Then let's go to the third chord and I'm going to drag down that A to a G. So now we've got an F sus2. And for now, we can actually leave the last chord as root position as well. Let's have a listen to that. That's perfect. You see how much emotion those sus2 chords really gave that basic chord progression. Now I think on that really last chord, I'm going to introduce a sus4 chord. That's what I'm hearing, so I'm going to get that B and I'm going to move it up to the C. So we've got that G sus4. So now our progression goes C sus2, then we've got this A minor in root position, then F sus2, and then lastly G sus4. Let's have a listen to that. Nice, really lovely. I love how that sus4 chord sounds right at the end. It sort of gives some sort of sense of slight instability and wanting to go back to the 1. Now, as you guys can see, the voice leading isn't the best, so we can invert these chords as well just to get the voice leading correct, just like the triad chords. So I'm going to sort that voice leading out. I'll move this over there. And that one over there. There you go. That should be cool. Now let's have a listen back to that. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. In the next lesson, we're going to be having a look at 7th chords.